because they're showing you what they can do. This radical left can take down a president of these United States on false charges and continue to go after him no matter what. And guess what? Not even a special prosecutor, John Durham, can do anything about it. Special Counsel John Durham is a great example of why I believe the American justice system is completely lost. Why I believe the American justice system and why Lady Justice is lifting up her blindfold and just watching all of us. I really had great hopes for Durham's report, and I'm grateful that at least Durham is telling the truth. But there is so much that John Durham failed to investigate, knowingly failed, in my opinion. And I'm so disgusted with Attorney General Bill Barr, and I don't care. I don't care if he knows that. I mean, he should be ashamed of himself. You know, this hatred towards President Trump is so incredible to me. And we're going to be talking about that on the show, but it's not just President Trump, folks. He's kind of, you know, when they say don't kill the messenger, they're killing the disruptor, right? They want to. That's what they're trying to do. They being the bureaucracy, the people that we pay with our tax dollars, the people that arrest us if we don't pay them with our tax dollars, which is so crazy upside down if you think about it, right? We're supposed to be in charge. But instead, we have given this octopus in Washington, D.C. with all these tentacles full reign. Like they're like giant squids, right? Just crawling across America with their suction cups, just slapping everything in their wake, taking in whatever they want, drowning who doesn't operate the way they do, and then telling us, you know, hey, screw you guys. You guys can't do anything about it now. We're the machine. We are operating at our own pace and doing whatever we want. And now we've gone so far that we're just doing it right in your face. Just doing it right in your face. I want to remind you all, because it's been so long, but it was 2016 and 2017 when I started to sniff out all of these rats in Washington. And I brought the story to John Solomon. And even then, it was hard. John Solomon, I was working for him at the time at Circa, which was part of the Sinclair network. And we'll go into that in a little bit. But it was right then that I told John, look, something is going on at the FBI and it is rotten. And that was kind of hard at first. John was kind of like, huh? What's going on? What are you talking about? And then he jumped on, because John and I worked at the Washington Times together before that, jumped on the story with me, and we started to investigate what I knew was the biggest story in modern political history. And I couldn't believe that I was the one that stumbled on it. I couldn't believe that the circumstances of my life led me to that moment. And for that, I am grateful, because at least we exposed these horrible human beings who have shamed, in my opinion, the founding fathers, shamefully treated those that have died and who have given so much for this country, put them, I guess, made them wasteful of their sacrifices, at least for them, not for me. That's the tragedy of what is happening to our nation. It's like a horrible Greek tragedy. It's like Dionysus. It's like the fall of Rome. And it terrifies me. Allegiance Gold, gold and silver allow you to protect what you've worked so hard for and give back the control and privacy that you need. And I've told you over and over again that right now you need to diversify, because you see the insanity that is happening in our world, and that requires you to protect your family and your assets. And you can do that with Allegiance Gold. Don't just trust me. Don't trust just this commercial. Do the research yourself. You need to diversify. Get $5,000 of free silver on a qualifying purchase when you tell them that Sara sent you. So that way, people like Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, for those of you in Canada who are listening to this, can't just seize your bank accounts. And that way, those of you who live here in the United States, believe it or not, won't end up at a woke bank that will throw you out because they don't agree with your politics or policies. This is a whole new world, a whole new way of looking at things. So my friends at Allegiance Gold want to help you. They want to help you protect your IRA or in your 401k with actual physical gold and silver. And they can have it delivered securely right to your front door. You just can't get that anywhere. Remember, Allegiance Gold, it has the highest ratings in the country, 5 stars with TrustLink. It's AAA rated with the Business Consumer Alliance, and it's A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau. Right now, you can get $5,000 of free silver on a qualifying purchase when you tell them that Sara sent you. So don't wait. Call or click today, 877-702-7272. That's 877-702-SARA, SARA, no H. Or go to protectwithsara.com. We can't control the Biden administration, folks, but we actually can prepare. Let's do that now at 877-702-7272. That's 877-702-SARA, SARA, or protectwithsara.com. I'm so sad sometimes because of what I've seen over, 2016 to 2023. It's like, gosh, it's hard to believe. It's almost been 7 years, or just over 7 years since President Trump ran for office, was elected, all that has happened in between. Time goes by really fast. But one of the things that I think is so disheartening is that we had gone on this journey together, you and I, right? And believe me, this was not about going on television. This wasn't a show. This was very real for me. It was an everyday, exhaustive event. And I didn't want to stop because I believe in America. I believe that every sacrifice made by my husband, made by those who were in the military, my friends who gave their lives, I believed they were worth it. I believed that. And I still do. I am grateful for the release of the Durham report, but I'm disgusted with the direction that our nation has taken and the failure of John Durham to follow through with what is probably one of the most important times in our nation's history. It's like the crux of our nation's spirit, right? It's like the apex. It's the end all be all. It's the moment that we make the decision whether we are to succeed as a nation, as a republic, as a democracy, or bury our heads in the sand and allow our country to forever change. That's the reality of where we are at. I don't really care if I end up on some domestic extremist list, that the FBI has. I have friends that were in the FBI and I think they're remarkable people. But the leadership at the FBI has been they're sellouts. They're sellouts. I don't even trust them. I don't like them anymore. I had a very hard time. They are federally armed agents of the United States government, and we are supposed to put all of our trust in them. We are supposed to know that this agency, this national force, is there to protect us. And they've done that on different levels: kidnappings, bank robberies, other things, serial killer investigations, things like that. I mean, great work coming from Quantico and the people that were trained. But I want to tell you this: they have become an arm of the political party, of the Democrats. They have become a tool, a weaponized tool, much like any other weapon, but in a way, even more powerful because they have so much power. What kind of power do I have or do you have against the government? I mean, by the way, the deep, 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 deep pockets of the government. If they wanted to come after me, if they wanted to come after you, if you don't pay your taxes on time, if they think that you are, a domestic extremist, how much hell can your life take? I ran into Carter Page right before I was in Israel. Hope, Carter, you're okay with me saying I won't talk about our private conversation, but we were both sitting at the airport in Austin. And he was facing me and I was facing him. This is how many years have gone? A couple of years, We're sitting there and I'm pretty tired. It's early in the morning. He's pretty tired. And we're staring at each other and we're kind of like looking at each other. And I'm like, I know that man. That guy looks just like Carter Page. But he was sitting kind of far away. I probably need my glasses. And he was looking at me thinking the same thing. And then finally I look at him and I go, okay, I'm just going to say it. Carter, is that you? And he's like, Sara, I knew that was you. It was just that moment, And I had a moment to talk with him and my heart broke for him. It broke for him because Carter Page's life was destroyed because the FBI, the CIA, led by the Clintons, yes, led by Hillary Clinton and her law firm, Perkins Coie, with Michael Sussman, who was the only person charged by John Durham, like a slap on the wrist. Hey there. Literally tried a coup d'etat of the United States by utilizing information warfare against a sitting U.S. president, President Donald Trump. That's the story. And nobody has held any of them accountable at all. And in fact, they are still hunting President Donald Trump. And for those of you who think you are so, important and, Trump, the people on the left, Trump is this, Trump is that. If he would just keep his mouth shut, if he would do this, if he would do that, things would be better. I want you to understand what President Trump was up against. He is up against the biggest gaslighters, liars, cheaters, evil people that you can imagine that want nothing more than to retain their power at the expense of everyone else, including you. And by the way, this is really not about President Trump. This is about you keeping your mouth shut, right? This is about you keeping your mouth shut, not rocking the boat, being afraid that you'll get fired from a job just because you have a political viewpoint that isn't the same as your boss's. This is about you following their agenda, no matter what you have been taught by your parents, no matter what the church teaches you, no matter what your community teaches you, because guess what? They have the power of the purse. They will come after you. They will destroy you. Yes, the left, the radical left, and those in power on the right too, the rhinos, the people that like Washington, D.C. the way it is, the people that don't want you to wake up. They don't want you to wake up. They want you to bury your head in the sand, deep, deep into the earth and not see what they've been doing because they have been breaking all the rules. They have been doing whatever they want. They are the elitists. They didn't care what they did to Carter Page. They didn't care that Carter Page worked and provided information for our government many, many, many times. They didn't care that the Steele Dossier was a big bunch of lies, that they hired a foreign agent from Great Britain. Simple, because it was Great Britain, right? Our ally, he's a retired guy. They hire him through Fusion GPS. Remember Fusion GPS? Run by a former Wall Street Journal reporter who's a piece of trash, and I'm not even going to mention his name. And working with the Clintons and working with Michael Sussman, who's the lawyer, and Charles Dolan, who spread the lies. And Igor Danchenko, a Russian, because they were working with the Russians, guys. It wasn't President Trump. It was them. They are the Manchurian candidates. Literally, the Manchurian candidate is sitting up there, and he's a bonehead. He's the Manchurian Candidate. He's on a, you know what I picture him? I picture President Biden as a puppet with China and Russia and the Clintons and Obama and George Soros and Blackstone all playing with his hands, his legs, his eyes, his mouth, his nose, everything that he says. And they're telling you to shut up because they're showing you what they can do. This radical left can take down a president of these United States on false charges and continue to go after him no matter what. And guess what? Not even a special prosecutor, John Durham, can do anything about it. Excuse my language. Nothing. He just told you he couldn't do nothing. Let me play you this clip. No collusion. No collusion. There was no evidence, folks, that there was any information at all that Trump had been working with the Russians. They spent your taxpayer dollars lying about a president that you voted for. Do not let them get away with this. Don't fall asleep. Listen to this. This is John Durham at the hearing, for those of you that missed it.
You wrote in your report, quote, based on the evidence gathered in the multiple exhaustive and costly federal investigations of these matters, including the instant investigation, neither U.S. law enforcement nor the intelligence community appears to have possessed any actual evidence of collusion in their holdings at the commencement of the Crossfire investigation. To date, has any evidence of collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia ever been uncovered?
I mean, there is information, obviously, in the report that was prepared by Director Mueller and whatnot. But as to collusion or conspiracy, I'm not aware of any.
And let me stop you. When the FBI opened Crossfire Hurricane, that's the issue at hand, it did not have any information that anyone in the Trump campaign had ever been in contact with Russian intelligence officials. Isn't that right?
As we wrote in the report, we talked to the director of the CIA, the deputy director of the CIA, the director of NSA, and people within the FBI, and there was no such information that they had in their holdings at the time they opened Crossfire Hurricane.
I want you to think about what he just said. And for this, I'm going to give him some credit because going up against the NSA, the CIA, the deputy directors, the directors, all of these agencies is probably one of the most dangerous things that you can do. Do you remember what Schumer said? You don't go up against the intelligence agencies. They have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you. Remember when he said that? They do. But I want you to think about what Durham said without saying it. He interviewed all of them. Why? Why, if this was just an FBI thing and they thought they had evidence, and Durham said they didn't have any evidence. So why was he interviewing all of them? The CIA, the NSA, the DNI, who knows? Whatever happened to the Office of Net Assessment? The Pentagon was involved in this as well. What about George Papadopoulos and the honeypot? Remember? The FBI and the CIA set up George Papadopoulos. They set him up. Remember, he was working in London at the time. And there was, of course, so many other players involved here. Setting people up everywhere. It's like the greatest and craziest and most unbelievable story. It's like 24 on steroids, right? Because I don't even think we know the half of it. But Durham let us know in that one moment, and by the way, the only person charged was that Michael Sussman. And I don't know if you guys remember this, but it was 2022 in April when the Democrat linked lawyer that was working, Perkins Coie, that was working for Hillary Clinton, was charged. And let me put this in again so that you all understand what I am talking about, so you can give evidence to your friends who don't believe the truth because they've been so lied to by a media that does not do their job. In fact, a media that's in the pocket, much like the FBI, of the Democratic and Rhino parties. Totally. This is a real conspiracy, guys. This isn't a made up one. This is a fact of what happened. Let me give you some evidence here. Michael Sussman, who was Hillary Clinton's attorney, was the only one that was charged. The only one that was charged in this entire mess, not Hillary Clinton, not anyone else. And if you want to know Igor Danchenko, he was a Russian. He's also believed he was the one that gave a lot of that information. And Charles Dolan, who actually worked for Hillary Clinton, was closely tied with her, and a bunch of others. There was other dossiers out there. They were the only sources for this entire dossier that Michael Sussman helped distribute. Sussman was a former lawyer for Perkins Coie firm who previously worked in 2016 for Democrat candidate Hillary Clinton, campaign against Republican Donald Trump, who became president. U.S. District Judge Christopher Cooper in the District of Columbia denied a motion to dismiss the case. Sussman had argued as grounds for dismissal that he never made a material or consequential misstatement to the FBI, but Cooper said he needed to hear the government's evidence before resolving the materiality. The battle lines were thus drawn. Sussman is accused of lying to the FBI about who he was representing when he met with the agency in September 2016. Sussman gave the FBI evidence of potential cyber links, which was the story that I broke when I was at Circa, which is no longer in existence. They destroyed that whole Circa thing, Sinclair did, and it's no longer there. But I broke that story, Alpha Bank, the pings between the Russian bank and Donald Trump's tower. Remember that? All a bunch of lies. In fact, there was somebody in the United States that made those pings happen. And Sussman was behind all of this. And the FBI eventually investigated Alpha Bank, but decided that the suspicions of those were unfounded. There was no information traveling back and forth. It was just sound, pings that were being set up to make it look like President Trump had some kind of communication with the Russians. But let me tell you this, and this is the evidence that I want you to give your friends, right? Ask your friends why Bill Clinton gave a speech in Moscow, to Renaissance Capital Bank in Moscow that was run and is run by none other than KGB, former KGB and FSB. And ask yourself why. Did the FSB and those that were running this bank pay Bill Clinton $500,000 for one speech? You tell me where you've ever seen President Trump get that kind of money from the Russians for giving a speech, right? Nowhere. But you got Hunter Biden taking money from the Chinese. You've got them, 10% to the big guy. And I'm talking tens of millions, over 32 million that we know of. And there's so much more from China. Ukraine, the same way, monthly stipends being paid to Hunter Biden. They are completely owned and operated by the cheating and the lying and they've been taking money. Guys, they've been taking money. The Bidens have been taking money from our adversaries forever. And they're not even paying a price for that. So when your friends or people, Democrats, are saying this, just educate them. Be nice, say, wow, that's really weird. Why do you think Bill Clinton, if you believe that, why do you think Bill Clinton took $500,000 from the FSB, from the Russian spies at their bank for one speech? And you can lay it all out. Let's go down to the next clip that I have for you, because I want you to hear this from John Durham. He is attempting to tell you all the facts, the truth, and some of what he doesn't say is the most important thing that he is saying. Here, he lays it out, though. Listen to this.
The Steele Dossier was entered into our congressional record. Was it true?
There is not a single substantive piece of information in the dossier that has ever been corroborated by the FBI or, to my knowledge, anyone else.
You guys, that was the whole point of spying on Carter Page. That was the whole point of going after President Trump. That was the reason why, if you remember, and let me remind you again, then CIA Director John Brennan, then DNI, James Clapper, And James Comey, the head of the FBI, decided that it was so important that they brief President Trump on the dossier that they knew had never been corroborated. Because guess what? They were the ones that did it. In all reality, this was their operation. It was Operation Take Down Trump, Operation Take Down the American people. So they went to Trump Tower, to New York after the election in January, before President Trump is sworn into office. And guess what they do? They download the whole thing on him. Hey, guess what, President Trump? We have this dossier that says you had this, you allowed prostitutes to piss all over a bed that Michelle Obama and President Obama slept in. Apparently the Russians have a video of you and we have all this information on you. And yeah, it's this crazy dossier. And President Trump was just like, I don't know what the hell, where that came from, but I didn't do any of that. I don't even know what you're talking about. This is so crazy. But there was a reason why they did that, because no reporter would buy the story. They were scared of writing about it. And they needed this information campaign. This was desperate. CIA work at its finest, a clapper at its finest. They needed this story to go worldwide. They needed to target Trump. That is your question. Why? Because they didn't want him rocking their boat. Because they have a plan. And the plan is to continue to pocket your money, continue living in their fiefdom, doing whatever they want, running and operating, the swamp at their leisure and pleasure, and putting their children in the best schools, and then buying stocks and doing whatever they can to make their lives better at the expense of yours. And I'm sure there's a lot of other reasons that we're not aware of, because we're the shit, right? We're not important enough to know what's going on there. We're not that important. We're nothing. We're expendable. We're collateral damage. Like at COVID. They do whatever they want. Remember Fauci laughing without his mask on at the, baseball games? Look what they did to Roger Stone. You don't have to like Roger Stone, but they sent the FBI fully armed agents like an armada to his house. They shook him down to try to destroy him, almost his poor wife. Look what they did to Carter Page. Did they do that to Michael Sussman? No, they didn't. Slap on the wrist. And what did Durham do? What did Durham do? Nothing. Nothing. Why? Ask yourself that question. Why couldn't he have investigated all of these things? I'm going to play a clip, a real quick clip in a minute. But it's an exchange between my friend, Congressman Matt Gaetz, and Special Counsel John Durham. And I thought it was brilliant. And I think Congressman Gaetz deserves so much credit for this.
We pursued the facts as best we could.
Well, how about this
tools
fact?
that we have?
Okay, how about this fact, Mr. Durham? The entire Mueller team does a hard reset on their Apple phone in synchronization to wipe away evidence. Did you investigate that?
I've read that.
Well, why did you investigate it? Who gave the order on the Mueller team to wipe the phones?
Yeah, that was not something that we were asked to look at, and we didn't.
No, that's not true, Mr. Durham. That is not true, because I'm holding the document that authorizes your activity, and it specifically says the investigation of Special Counsel Robert Mueller. It's in Mr. Chairman, I seek unanimous consent to enter into the record the order that says that you're supposed to investigate these things. And so, whether it's the Mueller team, MIFSUD, how about Azra Turk? Azra Turk, what's Azra Turk's real name? Do you know that?
I'm not going to be disclosing the names of FBI personnel that are otherwise unavailable.
But an FBI, so the FBI sends somebody to go honeypot George Papadopoulos. Who gave the order to do that?
I think that's beyond the scope of what's in the report.
It's literally the scope of what your charging order is. Who put it in motion? We get after it was put in motion, the FBI did a bunch of wrong and corrupt things. Totally understand. We're trying to deal with that. But when you are part of the cover-up, Mr. Durham, then it makes our job harder.
So now I want to remind you what happened. At least 27 cell phones were wiped of data before the DOJ Inspector General could review them. 27 phones on Mueller's team. Some reset to factory settings and some wiped accidentally after the wrong password was entered just way too many times. According to the 87 pages that they had of DOJ records regarding the phones issued to members of the special counsel's office. Right in our face. They don't even care. Including mobile phones that were reassigned. The special counsel's office wiped a total of 31 phones. Wow, such a big accident. Such an accidental wipe. It's about as big of an accident as Epstein jumping off of his second bunk, right? Tragic. Tragic. The accident that that the cameras weren't working, that the guys fell asleep, and that he killed himself. Yes, because he couldn't live with himself any longer after decades and decades of, having big, massive parties where high-level officials were sleeping with underage children. Before I go any further, I want you all to remember, folks, Sound of Freedom. My friend Eduardo Verásteg's film, which is coming out July 4th here in the United States, in theaters across the country. I want you to buy those tickets now. And you want to know why? This isn't just an advertisement to me. I absolutely believe in fighting human trafficking and shutting down that border. And I want all of you to see it. Because those monsters in Washington, D.C. that sit around, drinking their brandy and laughing at us are allowing children to be basically trafficked into the United States. And they are being harmed by pedophiles. And our children are being poisoned by fentanyl, and they don't care. So you have to care. This is where we've got to, put on our big girl pants, I guess, and do the right thing, right? And face these monsters. We're not going to bury our head in the sand. Every year, nearly 2 million children are trafficked around the world. Now there is a new movie, and it's Sound of Freedom, and it's aimed to raise awareness to this often unseen horror. It's an amazing film. I'm telling you, it's not one of those documentary types, but it documents in film. Mira Sorvino's in it, so many other great actors. Eduardo's in it as well. But it documents the struggle of Tim Ballard on his very first, for Operation Underground Railroad. He saves children. It documents his first trip to Colombia, where he rescued busloads of children from being trafficked and being given to pedophiles, by the way, that were being purchased by Americans and others. And the way they did this film, it was with so much class and taste. It's heartbreaking, but there's nothing weird in it. There's no kind of, no Netflix stuff. This is a straightforward film. It's produced by Angels Studios. If they do The Chosen, and the release date for Sound of Freedom will be it'll be released on July 4th, like I said, 2023, the 4th of July, freedom, right? Let's save lives. Purchase tickets online. New theaters are added daily. So check the website for current information, angel.com/freedom, angel.com/freedom. I'm going to let you all know when I go, because I would like everybody in Texas to join me, at whatever local theater around here. And I'm going to make that announcement on my podcast. And I would love to be there with you watching this film. I've already seen it, but I'll see it again. It is just that important. Remember, more than 500,000 children a year go missing in the United States alone. More than 50% of the victims are between the ages of 12 and 15. 20%, 27% actually, of human trafficking victims are children. It's unbelievable. So help spread this message worldwide. Sound of Freedom is coming to theaters July 4th. So buy your tickets today to reserve an opening spot this week. If more theaters are sold out, it will help raise awareness of this issue, and it often goes unnoticed. Find a theater near you by visiting angel.com/freedom. By supporting Sound of Freedom, you will contribute in raising awareness and propelling a movement to save millions of children around the world. Get your tickets today at angel.com/freedom. That's angel.com/freedom. Guys, we have a nation to save. We have less than 500 days. That's it. It's going to go like that. It's going to go like that. Before you know it, we're going to wake up and we're going to be there. Electing 2024, a new president to these United States, I hope. But we can't keep our heads buried in the sand. You and I need to speak out, speak loud, speak clearly, admit when things are unacceptable. And guess what? It's not going to be easy. Nothing in life is easy. A lot of you out there, I see your Twitters, your tweets at me, you write me on Instagram, you send me emails, you say, what's the use? Everybody in this country is, tired of all the lies. We're never going to have justice. I'm not going to deal with it anymore. You're throwing the baby out with the bathwater. It will only be because of us that this nation will end. Nothing in life is easy. I'm sure there's many times, and I've talked to soldiers many times out on the battlefield, where you feel hopeless, where you feel like there's no way you're going to win. There's no way we can succeed. Think about Normandy. How are we going to win this? We're getting slaughtered on the beaches. You have to keep fighting. You have to keep pushing for justice, for truth. Why? Because our children and our forefathers and our families and our nation and that piece of paper called the Constitution and our Bill of Rights are worth it. They're worth it all. Follow me on Truth at Sara Carter Official, on Twitter at Sara Carter DC, and on Instagram at SCarterDC. Also, please, please, please follow me here on YouTube and Rumble. God bless you. God bless our great nation. God bless all of you for fighting for this great nation, every single one of you, whether you're in the kitchen with your kids, whether you're sitting in an office, whether you're washing a car or waiting a table or working on Wall Street. God bless all of you, and God bless the great state of Texas.